Hey everybody. Today I want to show you guys how to do a visualize the sine equation. So visualize that by using the Python sine function from the math library, and this here is to then lead into future videos about just Python and working with different modules and bringing that stuff in and creating our own. So what we're going to do here is create a function called Dynamo Sine that we can call on, that we can pass a number into it for the frequency, which is like how because what we're gonna do is create we're gonna visualize just the wave. You know, if you Google search it, you'll see like a curve that goes up and down in a wave. And what's interesting about this too, you know, we can learn about Python through this, but you can also leverage that equation in AEC through maybe a fancy facade, or maybe it's a some type of furniture. But you know, a really good example from the Parametric Bootcamp, or I think it's called the ParametricCamp. I can't remember, but Google that channel, check it out. There's a example in there of flowing grass, and it uses that equation to create that. So check that out. I think it'll be interesting to see one use case of it and kind of how it works from that aspect. But here we're just going to look at it in the Python node. If you don't know much about the Python node, you know, check out the Dynamo Primer. It does cover it a little bit. Aussie BIM Guru has a talks a little bit about Python as well. So check those out if you haven't messed with it before. But you know, if you are new, you can hang around. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. Feel free to you know, comment below with any questions if you have them. So I've got two Python scripts here. Real quick, I'll show you kind of how to get to one. You just right click your canvas, and then you can search Python, and then you have Python script there. You can also in your library just search Python. You'll find that there as well. So if I click on it, we've got that. Kind of the anatomy of a Python script. We've got you know, inputs, and we can add as many as we want, and you know, those inputs are declared inside the script as some variable, and then you can use it in the script. So you know, you can remove all of them, like this one up here, and now we'll just look at what's actually inside of it. So this one I did edit a little bit. This should be typical. You should see this in your Python script. These though, which aren't too important for this video, are just paths that look at different libraries or different modules. So you can ignore these for now, and I'll talk about these more. I'll talk about this one specifically at the end of this video after we create this function. So to get into it, I've got two variables, one called freq for frequency, and then one called length. And let's do it. So we'll start our function, and we'll call this Dynamo Sine, and then what we're going to do is put our variables in that function. And we're going to default them, so we'll default that to 0, and then we'll default this length to 2, because we're going to be using the length value in a range. This is one way to do this, but you know, there's other ways to handle the range, but when we get to that, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. But the minimum is 2, and so now what we'll do is we'll add just a note real quick to describe kind of what this function does. And what's useful about this too is that the built-in help function can call this. It can return this value, which people use. Like I think the help function is incredibly beneficial to know, because you can use it to you can pass in a method or a class, and it will return kind of a string describing what it is and what inputs it would take. So we'll just keep this really just simple, and just say that this is a simple function for visualizing the sine equation, or at least a property of the equation. So now we're gonna so the way that we're gonna visualize this is through a NURBS curve, which is going to take in a list of points. So we'll have to define that list. So we'll just say points. So there's our empty list called points. And then now, just to capture, because now we defaulted the variables up here, which is going to, when somebody calls this function, it'll they're allowed to just not put anything in as the inputs. So when it runs, it will return a NURBS curve, but it's going to be a flat, very short curve, and this is just to prevent any errors or anything. And what we want to do is capture it in case they pass into the length 1, 0, -1, and so on. So we'll just do an if statement for that. So we'll just say if length is less than 2, just return. We're just going to return a string, and we're just going to say the length must be greater than 1. So now if they pass in 1, 0, or what, any negative number, it'll return that string. And then now for the actual using the sine function and creating the actual curve to be able to visualize this is what we're going to do in the else statement. So now if we go for I in range, and what we're going to do is pass in that length variable, and then we can do x equals 5, and this is going to be the x coordinate, so the frequency, and we'll just do times the I, and this number could be whatever. This is just going to be in increments of 5, and now we're going to do the z. Or no, I'm sorry. This x value is for the length. So it's going to be increments of 5 across the x-axis, and then the z is going to determine our frequency. So misspoke there. Sorry about that. And now, so if we pass in, we make z equal to the frequency times sine, and then we do that, and then there's our x and z variables that will pass into the points. So we'll do points, since we're going to be appending all of these points to a list, because our NURBS curve object takes in a list of points. So now we'll do point by coordinates. We'll do x, 0, and then our z variable. Go down. Now we'll create our curve. So at this point, and you'll see here, I went back 4 spaces. It loops through, it appends those new points to the points list, and now what we're going to do is just create our NURBS curve. And then we'll pass in our list. And then we'll return that curve. So this function will return the curve. So now in our out variable, what we can do is pass in Dynamo Sine. And then, I mean, since we declared like the defaults here that they're going to be 0 and 2, we can run this, and let me see what I forgot. Line 28. Oops. We need to import the math, or we need to import the sine function from math. So what we can do is from math import sine. And so now we have that, and if I turn the preview back on, you can see we've got that flat little curve there. And again, it defaults, you know, the frequency is 0 and then the length is 2, since we didn't pass anything into it. So now we'll pass in our sliders. And then now we can kind of visually see what's going on there. So there it is. You know, there's the function. We called on it. We can use it. Now, what's interesting is if maybe this is a common thing that we're going to use. Maybe it has a variety of other things in it. What we can do is actually pull this into our own Python module and import it like you see here. So that's what this is, and I won't go too deep into this, and I'll probably make another video about this topic, but here's just a basic little module that we're just going to import and pull some stuff from. So I'm going to save this, close it, and if you check below, there's a OneDrive link. Feel free to check that out and find this video and the content for this video. You can use this Dynamo script, take it and use it however way you want. Just make sure that you update these paths or remove them because they won't work. Neither will this if you don't have this Python module. This module is on my GitHub. I'll post it below. I'll put a link for it, so you can download it from there. But it isn't really doing anything special for now, just for learning purposes, really. So, with that said, what I've done is I've added the path. I've appended the path to the Python module folder, and then in there I imported my module Dynamo Sine function. And so now if I turn this off, what I can do is, and I'll turn the preview on there, we can see, run that, you can see the little line there, and then if I take this, we'll add some of our inputs, plug these in, and then we'll just do F. Oops. And then we'll do L equals input. So F. And so there you go. Now we have a function that we can just call from our own custom module rather than, you know, copying it or creating even a custom node. We now have a module that we can add a whole bunch of stuff to that we can then import and be able to use and, you know, quickly create Python scripts out of. So I just wanted to share that briefly. You know, this leads into that, and I'll show you guys how to build that module. It's really easy, but I'll create a separate video for that for you guys to check out. But thanks a lot for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or whatever. If you like the video, feel free to like, and if you like seeing this content, you know, definitely, you know, feel free to subscribe. But anyways, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.